So we just crossed over 1,000 active listings on the market, and this totally changes the game going forward for 2026. I'm Phil Duke Jr. here with Living in Tuscaloosa County. And if you watched my market update video last week, I talked a little bit about this and we were trending in this direction. But as I'm sitting here in the office this morning, I've got my laptop here in front of me. We've gone over 1,000 active listings on the market for the first time in years. And in this video, I'm going to talk about what that means and how that's going to change the market and whether it's a good market or a bad market, right? I hear a lot of people saying that right now is a bad market, and I just want to take a minute to address that. I've got some notes here that I'm going to go through to kind of keep us on point today. And, hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks for checking out the channel. If you like the content here, please like and subscribe. They tell me that helps. And just a quick story before we get into it today. My kids, right? I've got two of my own and two foster kids, and the two boys that are my biological kids. They love playing Roblox, right? If you don't know what Roblox is an online community of these games with simple graphics, and they're constantly pushing out new games all the time. And kids can, buy this stuff called Robux, and they can like upgrade their character, upgrade what their character looks like, what they're wearing, what kind of weapons they have on there, all that kind of stuff. It's a big money maker. And, my kids play it and they're really good at it. They hand me the controller. Hey, Dad, it's your turn. I start playing the game, and in 10 seconds, I'm dead, right? I didn't know the bad guy was going to pop up when he was going to pop up, right? So I tell that story to let my kids at 10 years old and 6 years old, they're not smarter than me, but they have played the game longer than me, right? And real estate is my game. I've been fortunate enough to have, a good long career at this point. Hopefully, I'm just getting started, turning 40 this year. And I feel like I have a lot, a life ahead of me, a lot more people to go out there and help. But at this point in my career, I've been able to help hundreds of people go out there and buy and sell real estate. I've been able to, become a successful investor myself. I run a real estate team here, so I coach and train other agents on how they can go out there and help their people. And so I would say I'm not smarter than you, but I've played this game longer, right? Just like my kids have played that video game longer. If you are needing anything real estate related, there is a link down below where you can pull up my calendar and see what times I have available, and me and you can have a one-on-one phone call or video chat to discuss whatever it is that you are having problems with. If I can't help you, I'll push you to somebody who can, right? Or we may, on that call, we might decide that maybe Tuscaloosa isn't the right fit for you. So if you're out there looking for some help, looking for somebody to talk to who's played the game a little while, right? I've been able to help hundreds of people buy and sell. I've bought a ton of houses myself as an investor, and would love to chat with you about real estate. And if you decide to, maybe we can work together, and I can help you buy something, or I can help you sell something, or maybe both. And we can become friends and tour the town and have a good time doing it. So that link is down below. Let's go ahead, jump into today's video. Like I said, I have some notes here that I'm going to be referring to because I just want to make sure that I'm being a good steward of your time. So 1,000 homes on the market, that might not sound like a ton to you, depending on where you're from, right? If you're coming from a much bigger area, you might be coming from somewhere where there's 5,000, 10,000, 30,000 houses on the market, but we haven't been over 1,000 in years. We've been in the 600 to 750 for the last couple years, but it has trended up, and it just seems, earlier this week we went above 1,000, and now every day when I get here, it's one of the first things I look at. I kind of look at it throughout the day. It seems like every time I refresh my computer and go into it, there's even more than there was before, right? I think just a second ago it was 1,028. So, I mean, we're getting closer to 1,050. Are we going to get to 1,100, 1,200? I don't know, but I would say, like, this is nothing to be worried about. Back when I I got in the real estate industry at a young age. I kind of flunked out. I joined the military, went back to college. Never thought I'd be in real estate, but I jumped back in at the end of 2015, and in 2016 and 2017, this is how it was. And back in that time, homes would sit on the market. We would, a seller would hire me for 6 months, and at that time, we were doing everything we could during that 6 month period to make the house look good and presentable for showings. And a lot of times you were going to get one offer during that 6 month period, and you had to really make that one offer work, right? Because if you didn't make a deal work with those people, they had more houses to go look at, right? And so for the past couple years, people have said, it was such a great market, right? In 2020, 2021, 2022, we literally had houses in this area that weren't even really ready to hit the market, right? They weren't cleaned up, they weren't decluttered, they had issues, but inventory was so low at that time that people that were looking for houses didn't have much to pick from. So when one came available, boom, you know, 5, 10, 15 offers on that one property within the first 24 to 48 hours. And everybody was saying, like, oh man, this market's so strong and this is such a good market. But if you were one of those buyers who was relocating to Tuscaloosa, or you needed to upsize to a bigger house, or you needed to downsize to a smaller house, or move into this area for whatever reason, if you were trying to buy during that time, it was very common that you were going to have to put in an offer very strong, asking price or above. You were going to pay all the closing costs or almost all the closing costs. You weren't going to get any repairs done before you moved in, and you still might not get the house back in those days. So was that a good market for home buyers? I mean, if you were trying to buy a house at that time, and we had people that were, I mean, obviously, I mean, we helped a lot of people buy houses, during those years, but it was frustrating to be a buyer because you'd see a house, you'd fall in love with it, you'd write a great offer, and your offer a lot of times still didn't get accepted. You had to kind of make offers on multiple houses. So you as a buyer were having to do multiple offers, not because you wanted to, because you had to, right? And so, when it comes to, what does this mean for the market right now? Well, it's real simple. Let me share a little. This is like real world story. This is how the market really works, right? So there are people that this past week have accepted a job at the University of Alabama, or at one of the hospitals locally, or at Mercedes, one of the Mercedes suppliers, Phifer Wire, Nucor Steel, Tuscaloosa County School System, lots of employers here in this area, right? Somebody this week accepted a job, and they already have a timeline of when they need to be here and starting their new job, and maybe they have a house, back home wherever they're from. Those people, the way that it works is those folks are going to talk to a lender unless they're paying cash. Most people are not paying cash. They're going to talk to a lender. They're going to see how much they can get approved for, and then they're going to call somebody like me. They're going to click my link and hop on a Zoom call or a phone call with me. If they're approved for $300,000, they're going to go out. A lot of times they're going to come to town for 1 or 2 days. Right? Have this happen all the time. People watch my YouTube videos. They reach out. We do a phone call. We do a video chat. They kind of tell me what's going on. They kind of let me know what their travel days are going to look like. We're going to be in town on these 2 or 3 days. We're going to fly in on this day. We're going to drive down, from up north. We're going to drive down and get an Airbnb or a hotel for a few days. And it's very common that those folks, right, they really need to buy a house, especially right now. They really need to buy a house. They're going to go look at the best houses that are in their price range, and they're going to write an offer on the one they felt was the most valuable property, the best deal for the money, right? So if they've got $300,000 budget, they want to find the best house they can buy for $300,000, right? Now, when I say their budget, right, your budget and your pre-approval amount don't always have to be the same, right? Just because you're approved to buy a $400,000 house doesn't mean you have to necessarily, go all the way up to 400. But whatever your budget is, the way it works is that homes are sold on comparison shopping, right? People are looking at homes online. They're looking to, they refresh on Zillow the same way I'm refreshing to see how many properties are on the market. They're refreshing Zillow, they're refreshing realtor.com. The average home buyer is looking at 8 or 9 different websites for houses. So they're looking at these websites for the next new listing or something like that. They're looking for the best deal, right? If this is what we feel comfortable with as far as a monthly payment, this is what we feel comfortable with as far as a total budget price. What property is going to be the best bang for the buck? What's the best house that we can buy? And what'll happen is those people will come into town. They'll look at houses for a day or two, and they're going to write an offer on the one they felt like was the best one for them. Okay. And you could argue like, why did they pick this one over this one? But consistently, right? They consistently, if I had to rank them like number one and number two, number three, these are the top 3 houses under 300,000. I guarantee you those 3 are going to sell, right? It might be that number 3 sells before number 2, or number 3 sells before the one I would say, is number 1. Sometimes you can't just go by the pictures either, right? You've got to actually, drive by, look at the neighborhood, look at what's across the street, the route to get to it, and the route to get back home. All those kind of things. There's more than just bedrooms, baths, and square footage, obviously. Um, so for home sellers, right, people in this kind of market, if you want your house to sell, you need to be consistently the number 1 house in whatever price range you're going to be, right? So when I'm helping people price their homes right now, I'm looking at what's available and what's been available over the last 90 to 180 days. And I'm trying to figure out, if I was going to rank the houses that have sold in the last 6 months and the ones that are available right now, where would this house need to be priced for it to be the number 1 option? And if you do that, you typically end up still having success, right? Now you've got other properties as a seller right now. You've got other properties that you're competing against, a lot more inventory to compete against than what you've had in the past. So you might have to price it differently than what you had in the past. But it really is a very simple market, right? A couple years ago, the sellers had all the power. They could almost ask whatever they wanted, and they didn't really have to negotiate with buyers very much, because if this buyer wasn't willing to do it, there was 4 other ones that were ready to buy that house, sight unseen even sometimes. Well, right now, buyers have the power. So we send out, I send out postcards like this on a weekly basis, letting people know that they can go to phildukejr.com and get a cash offer on their home. And we do that because, like, number 1, it helps us find, investment properties in the local area. But it also, a lot of times those conversations, once they see what the cash offer looks like, they'd be better off like testing the open market. And so I'll tell you, as an investor and as somebody who's representing buyers in the area, putting in offers on properties that are already on the market, with other listing agents representing the sellers, there's more wiggle room right now than what you might think. So when you're looking at realtor.com, when you're looking at Zillow, don't just look at what the price is. I mean, you have to, but that might not be as low as they would go, right? Now, not everybody's in a distressed situation, but I say all that to say, if you're a home seller right now, and you're going to price it high to test the market and then come down if you don't get it sold, the problem is that buyer that was in town for 1 or 2 days, who needed to make a decision soon, by the time you decided to reduce the price on your home to where it should be, that really motivated buyer, the kind that you really want to work with, who kind of has a deadline and who's serious about the whole process. They're not just out there kicking tires and wasting people's time, right? That buyer's already moved on. Okay. So if you want to sell your house, they're still absolutely selling. You just have to price them accordingly, right? There's three main pricing strategies. Pricing it above the market and then coming down if it doesn't sell. It really doesn't work ever. Not a huge fan of that pricing strategy, but it really doesn't work in a market like this. You've got to be dialed in on your price on day one of it hitting the market, right? Because those people that are watching these videos that are going to come into town, right? I have some folks coming in this weekend. We're meeting on Saturday, and we've got a whole afternoon of going out and looking at properties and showing them around town. Those folks don't have time to wait on a overpriced homeowner to realize that they overpriced it and then reduce it by 20,000, 3 or 4 weeks from now. So very interesting times to be in. I will keep you updated on a weekly basis on what's going on with the market. Phil Duke Jr., eXp Realty. Have a great day.